So I want to make a Joker movie, but turn it on its head. Have a black woman play the Joker, Lupita, um,
Ooh,
and have it be about how a black woman is just fed up,
Yeah,
and
I
have a
would like that movie.
big,
that was nice.
big blockbuster.
Yeah, I could see that.
Oh, I see it.
Okay, great. All right, Christine.
Well, okay, so the many years off I was raising kids, I did have a lot of time to write scripts. So I have three scripts that can work together as a trilogy and is based on faith, hope, and love. The first one being a Black musical akin to La La Land. So it's the Black La La Land, but it serves as a love letter to our culture and our Black music. And it's just unapologetically Black with real singers, and it tells a story of artists that takes place in New York City. Another one is like a road film that's like Thelma and Louise meets Terms of Endearment, with the backdrop of Fargo because it takes place in a snowstorm. Two
Oh
black,
my
two black women who hate each other are forced to share a car ride from New York City to Washington, D.C. And the other one, I have a legal suspense thriller that's I always use other films, but I just make it Black. So it's like the Black Michael Clayton, and
Oh,
it's about a very successful Black male lawyer who marries a white wife, and when he gets nailed for a murder that he didn't commit, he has to seek the help of his ex-girlfriend, who is a Black woman, to rescue him from the scenario that he's in. And she's a Black Lives Matter activist
wow.
who looks at him like, you're a total sellout.
Mhm.
Yet, as we Black women do, she has to rescue him, but there's something that she gets out of it for herself. So those
Oh,
are the three that work as a trilogy. And then of course I have my Black Korea feature film that's
oh
loosely
yeah.
autobiographical, and it's like Cinema Paradiso meets the 400 Blows.
Oh my God, you're killing me here. This is all this stuff is so great. I hope that we are. You have to make your movies.
Give me the
We
check.
have to.
I'm a
Okay.
filmmaker. I can get it done.
I'm going to find that magic wand. Yes.
I wish I gave this more thought because I do hope to one day get back into narrative filmmaking because that's kind of where I started as a filmmaker. But my immediate follow-up hope, I'm actually hoping to make a film about my family patriarch, my grandfather that comes from Mobile, Alabama, has had 17 children. My mother is one of 17,
Wow.
and he recently passed away in November. And so I kind of want to make a document about what happens to family ties after to Black family ties when a major family member departs.
Oh
You
yes.
Mobile, Tuskegee, Alabama, almost all of his children went to college and started
Mhm.
professional careers throughout the Great Migration. And so I'm hoping to make a family document collecting the stories of the moments in which my aunts and uncles can say that he changed their lives,
Wow.
and turn that into a web series, an archive, and sort of a guide for other Black families to document their stories and submit them. Because I think that is a huge thing we're lacking in the media landscape. It's just like documentation of the stories of Black families.
Mine is going to be super quick. So, since I was unprepared or unwilling for the question, I'm going to wave my wand and your wand and green light all of these films.
Yay!
I want to see them.
Yay!
Biggest obstacle for me had to be just being confident in writing. I wasn't very confident in writing. I was a very visual girl when I started. I was the camera girl that took my camera everywhere I went and studied techniques and like loved the camera so much, but didn't really know how to construct content. So I really had and this was like post college. So even when I could have took screenwriting classes, I was such a techie freak, but just being confident in writing, Knowing that I have a story to tell, knowing that there's an audience out there waiting to see that story. I've gotten a little bit more courageous with writing down my thoughts, writing down what stories I feel like would speak to me and that will speak to Black people and speak to Black families specifically. But that's what Training Wheels allowed me to do. It allowed me to kind of have to be courageous, just to talk about something that has happened in my own life. And I got so many comments about people that had problematic relationships with their fathers, and I'm not the only one. So with Training Wheels and just finishing it, it proved that I can tell a story that is relatable to me, that can also be relatable to so many other people, and can help them in areas where I probably struggled. I was hoping that I was able to emulate that on film, and people can watch that film and take that away. That, you know, the relationship with family is so important. And I was hoping that that was something that I highlighted. So just being confident in being a writer and knowing that you have a story and there is a heart for it and someone's waiting to see it.
One question is, how important to you is maintaining your ownership of the work, as Michaela Cole did by turning down Netflix offer for her show I May Destroy You? Obviously, this is the topic of this panel. Ownership is queen.
I'm just going to say, I think it's huge. I think it's the future. And I think filmmakers are not going to survive unless they retain ownership. And if you are a woman or a person of color or somebody who is queer, trans, someone who is fighting for accessibility rights, your rights mean so much more than your counterparts' rights, right? Because your mission is one that's underrepresented, right? And you can't rely on giving all your rights away and being shelved. And I'm just going to throw out the beautiful Julie Dash, because I just screened her film, Daughters of the Dust. How can we go 25, 30 years without really seeing that work?
That's what I'm saying.
That went to Sundance and we didn't see it for 30 years.
That's what I'm saying. That's really, that's that part.
It informs me every single day. Every time I rewatch it, it is such a beautiful film. And so I think for us, it's a matter of life or death, and whether or not we're going to really be in the future of cinema is retaining our rights. And I hope not, I didn't make it too dire and immediate, but honestly, that's how I feel.
I'm hearing it at a good time.
I think a lot of filmmakers aren't, we're kind of beggars. We don't really get to be choosers, and it's unfortunate. And so I think anytime you have a distribution deal or a few options in front of you, you have to pick the lesser of the 2 or 3 evils. I am, of course, an advocate for ownership of your work, but I'm the evil capitalist always in this world. I'm like constantly running into the scenario where I'm like this weird outsider. So I'm so sorry for my evil capitalist ways, but I do think you just take the deal that's going to garner you the most amount of money, with the deal breakers being term lengths. If a distributor says that they're going to take your content for 15 years, that's really old world. That's ridiculous. And what are they going to do when we don't know the state of distribution next year? How are they going to take your film for 15 years? It doesn't make any sense to me. And it's really, and then that film, when they go bankrupt, eventually is going to be sold to a sub distributor, and that sub distributor is going to take your film and market it in ways that it's just, you lose a lot of control.
Yeah, I completely agree that and I'm still learning it as, somebody who's been doing this for 20 years. I'm still learning how necessary it is to ask for all of those resources, human and otherwise, that you need, and really put your faith and trust in everyone doing their best work. And encouraging that experience, encouraging that expectation, I think often means you get the best work from your collaborators. And so but the urge, particularly I think for all of us as women, is to imagine we can do all of it by ourselves. And we really can't and shouldn't. We should get used to asking for help. We should get used to demanding the help, because it's really the only way to do this job. I don't really see it as a job you can do on your own.
like what you were saying about like in the actual industry and the people who are working in the field, and that is still so primarily male and primarily white. I think in like a lot of circles, at least in the United States, and maybe in like often when I'm doing production design or wardrobe on a job, myself and the makeup person are the two women on the set, and everyone else is male. And so it's really, I don't know. I try to talk to people about that when I'm working on sets with them, and then also as far as inclusivity of not even just inclusivity, but like raising up like the talent and the ability of people who just maybe like come from different cycles and different like cultural cycles, different education cycles, and it's like hard for those things to blend. So you have to be really intentional about it. And one of my favorite quotes about that is that if everyone at the table looks like you, then you need to like invite some other people to the table.
I always loved movies like The Yellow Submarine, and like, you know, like growing up, I just was always obsessed with things that I remember. Also, there was like this Paul McCartney like cartoon of Rupert that was like a song, and I like loved that. Like, I guess growing up, I always was obsessed with that. So I think that's a style I like. But as far as this film and why I chose not to have any sound or dialogue, a lot of that was actually just out of the necessity of wanting to keep this a very like simple, low pressure experience for myself as a filmmaker, because I mean, just being honest, because I hadn't made a film in so long, it was really a practice in building my confidence up again. And not having any, it sounds kind of weird, but not having a crew or anyone else involved allowed me to just do it for myself, not feel like I had to kind of even finish it for anyone, you know, like it was really my kind of private thing. And honestly, no one even knew I was making it except my sister and Caitlin. I didn't even show anyone in my family till I'd edited one version of it and showed it to them. And so now, you know, it's really paid off in the end, because I'm so glad I pushed myself to do that. And it kind of brought me back to directing again.
Yeah, so for me, Alma, I was inspired to make this film because I'm a first generation Latinx, and for me, I don't really see a lot of that in the media, in the mainstream media. And it was really important for me to really have two female Latinx women be at the forefront of this film to tell a story about an everyday life of a first generation girl. And it was inspired 2 years ago, actually, when I went to Peru and Bolivia, my parents' native countries.
Wow.
For the first time, like in, I don't know, 15 years that I had actually been there, and I was there to really connect with my roots. And I was so glad that I was able to do that, because I was so inspired to show that there are so many out there, first generation, who are so similar in so many ways. So that was really my main inspiration.
I just want to say congratulations to Claudia Lee, because I loved your film, and I loved the casting. I loved the color palette. I love how ambitious it was in scope and how you really pulled that off. I love how there's always something boiling underneath, and there's like a constant energy and suspense, and I love psychological thrillers. So I think you were doing something really deep and interesting, and on the surface, it's one thing, and then underneath, I think we can all relate to trying to figure out who we are and where we come from, and what those things reveal about our world as well as about us. And even just the process of discovery was all really great to watch, and I'm excited to see where your career goes. And I can't wait to get in touch and see how I can help you out and talk more about all this stuff. So congrats.
Really moved by your film, Poppy. I found it to be so joyful, so visually playful, like really beautiful, but with so much heart. It's clearly a deeply personal, specific story. It's you know, your relationship with your father, a beautiful portrait of your father. But it was still touching and an emotional experience for an outside viewer, for someone who didn't know him. It felt like you did now.
I'm very excited to work with you. Sexual violence against women is the subject that's obsessed me, and is you know, what all my films to date have been about. And so your film, of course, spoke to me in terms of street harassment. And I just found the emotional impact and intimacy of both the camera, especially the juxtaposition of being on the street with all those men versus being alone in the bathroom, and the images that she's attempted this whole time to keep out, begin intruding in on her psyche. That and the performances, the vulnerability you found in the performances, both the vulnerability of just seeing her back until we get in the bathroom and then seeing her face. I found all of it very, very powerful and moving and smart filmmaking. And I'm really excited to work with you.
I picked you because of your touching representation of a mother-daughter relationship in all of its cross-cultural complexity, but also for showcasing the importance of art in the lead character's healing process. I was really impressed by your film, and I cannot wait to help you in any way that I can to further your career goals and creative dreams.